Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're exploring a question many of you have submitted. Is GoPro a good time to buy now? We'll sift through the latest insights and data to help you understand the full, nuanced picture. Before we jump into GoPro, if you're finding our discussions valuable, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and leave us a comment. And if there's a specific company you'd like us to look into, just leave a comment below. We always appreciate hearing from you and, guiding you through the investing landscape.
Yeah, and GoPro is a fascinating one right now because, well, our sources paint a truly contrasting picture. On one hand, you see some recent positive momentum and some ambitious plans. But on the other, there are some very significant challenges currently in play, which makes this a particularly compelling stock to examine right now.
Okay, let's start with that positive momentum then. Our sources highlight a pretty significant stock surge for GoPro. After its Q2 2025 earnings report, the stock saw a really impressive 32.5% jump. That's a huge move. But here's the kicker, right? They actually missed revenue expectations. How do we reconcile that? It seems kind of counterintuitive on the surface.
It absolutely does, and it really speaks volumes about investor sentiment, doesn't it? Despite Q2 2025 revenue coming in at $153 million, which, like you said, was actually down 18% year over year and missed consensus estimates, investors chose to focus heavily on management's positive guidance for the future and also on some very tangible operational improvements that they made.
Okay, like what kind of improvements?
Well, for instance, the gross margin actually increased. It went up to 36.0% from 30.7% year over year. So that's a clear signal of better efficiency in our core business. Plus, operating expenses were reduced by a significant 32% year over year.
Wow, 32%. Okay.
Yeah. So while the top line revenue was, well, disappointing, the internal workings of the company showed a lot more strength.
That's a fascinating take on investor psychology there. So they're essentially betting on future promises and these operational tweaks, even with a revenue miss. Does that make the stock particularly vulnerable if those promises don't, materialize quickly? Or is the market already kind of factoring in that risk?
That's precisely the key question for investors, isn't it? The market appears to be giving management the benefit of the doubt here. But, that trust comes with really high expectations. Management is promising a return to revenue growth and profitability starting in Q4 2025.
Q4 2025, okay.
Yeah, which is a bold claim given the recent performance, and it relies heavily on their strategic rollout.
So what is the core strategy then? How are they planning to achieve such a significant turnaround by Q4, especially with those Q2 numbers as a backdrop? What are they really banking on?
Well, this turnaround seems largely centered around a wider, more diversified range of products, both hardware and software. These are apparently set to launch in the second half of 2025, and there's a key new product launch window specifically mentioned for January 2026.
January 2026.
So the company's hope is that this diversification will expand its market beyond just, traditional action cameras, and crucially, help to reduce the seasonal volatility that often impacts their business.
Makes sense.
It's about not putting all their eggs in one basket, essentially.
Right. And beyond new hardware, our sources flagged something quite intriguing. Is GoPro actually venturing into artificial intelligence for new revenue streams? That sounds like a pretty significant pivot.
Indeed. Yeah, that's right. GoPro is apparently in talks with several AI data licensees. These are basically companies developing AI that need vast amounts of authentic, real-world video to train their models.
Ah, okay. Using their existing footage library.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This could be a totally novel revenue stream for GoPro, leveraging its huge library of user-generated action footage. Investors will be closely monitoring how and maybe if this can be successfully monetized and what impact it could really have on the bottom line. It's definitely a new direction for them.
Yeah,
and one that could potentially unlock value from their existing content archives.
So with these promised product launches and these potential AI ventures, what are some of the other near-term events for GoPro that investors should probably keep a close eye on?
There are a few important dates coming up, yeah. We have the Q3 2025 earnings release on November 6th, 2025. That's going to be absolutely crucial for early signs of that promised turnaround.
Okay, November 6th, got it.
Then there's the ETF rebalancing period on November 15th. This is when large, passively managed funds adjust their portfolios based on index changes, which can sometimes create significant, though maybe temporary buying or selling pressure on stocks like GoPro, depending on index inclusion or exclusion.
All right, technical factors.
Exactly. Black Friday sales on November 29 are always important for a consumer product company like this. And finally, year-end institutional portfolio adjustments on December 31 could also, move the stock a bit.
Okay, shifting gears slightly to future catalysts. What else is kind of on the horizon for GoPro? In terms of more speculative but potentially impactful developments, there are always market rumors flying around, aren't there? Especially with a company trying to stage a comeback.
Oh, absolutely. Speculation includes potential AI partnership expansion, building on those licensing discussions we just mentioned. There are also persistent rumors of GoPro being an acquisition target.
Interesting. Why now?
Well, given its current valuation, which is quite low, and those improved operational metrics we talked about, some analysts believe larger consumer electronics firms might find it an appealing prospect. Just speculation, of course.
Right.
Market speculation also suggests an evolution of its subscription service, maybe beyond just cloud storage, possibly integrating advanced editing tools or exclusive content partnerships.
Expanding the value prop there.
Exactly. And finally, there are these unconfirmed reports of significant international expansion for its subscription program, which, if true, could effectively, maybe double its addressable market over time.
Big if, but yeah.
These are all speculative, naturally, but they certainly add to the narrative of potential upside, don't they?
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on GoPro's potential upside and the optimism driving its recent momentum. However, our analysis also unearthed a far more challenging reality lurking just beneath the surface. What's the starkest red flag you see right now? The thing that puts all this optimism into, perspective.
That's an extremely important question. And the biggest red flag is a very serious one. GoPro received a Nasdaq delisting warning back on March 25, 2025.
A delisting warning. Okay.
Yeah, this was because its stock traded below $1 for 30 consecutive business days. That's not just a minor issue. It's a fundamental challenge to the company's status as a publicly traded entity on a major exchange.
That sounds incredibly serious. What does a delisting warning actually mean for the company? And more importantly, maybe for investors who might be holding the stock or thinking about buying it?
It's a fundamental threat, a really big one. Threatens the stock's accessibility and its institutional ownership. See, if a company gets delisted from Nasdaq, many institutional funds are actually mandated to only hold stocks listed on major exchanges.
Right. Their mandates.
Exactly. So if delisted, GoPro would likely move to the over-the-counter markets, or OTC. That severely limits its accessibility for large investors, even many retail brokers. And it usually leads to a drastic reduction in liquidity and, investor interest.
So what's the timeline?
The company has 180 calendar days from March 25, 2025 to regain compliance. That means its stock price needs to close at $1 or more for at least 10 consecutive business days.
10 consecutive days above $1.
Right. Sustained trading below $1, as it has experienced, definitely indicates serious fundamental challenges. And it shows a strong downward trend that, frankly, needs to be reversed pretty quickly.
But let's pivot to the core financials. Do they really support this promising outlook? And, the efforts to regain compliance, we've talked about some Q2 numbers, operational improvements. But how robust is the overall financial picture? Is there clear, comprehensive data supporting this supposed turnaround?
Well, this is another critical area of concern highlighted in our sources. Comprehensive financial data, like, the details from recent 10K or 10Q filings. For detailed revenue, earnings, current debt levels, cash flow, balance sheet data, that wasn't readily available in the material we reviewed.
Really? That seems like a major gap.
It is. This lack of verifiable, comprehensive financial health information prevents a full, detailed assessment of the business trajectory. It means investors are kind of working with an incomplete picture when it comes to the company's core financial strength, which certainly adds to the risk profile here.
Okay. I also saw mention of insider activity in our sources. Is that a side of trouble, like executives potentially selling off shares during this turnaround attempt?
Yeah, recent insider activity does show some mixed signals, but it's really important to understand the context here. Our sources indicate that CEO Nicholas Woodman, for example, he disposed of about 9,192 shares at $1.35 per share back on August 15th, 2025. However, this was specifically noted as being for tax withholding on RSU vesting, restricted stock units.
Okay, so not discretionary selling.
Exactly. It wasn't him deciding, I want to sell now. Other executives had similar tax-related dispositions. There was also RSU grant activity. One executive received 113,208 RSUs.
Hmm,
So while these transactions are largely administrative, the new grants do imply a slight dilution of existing shareholder ownership over time.
right. More shares outstanding.
Yeah. They can subtly pressure earnings per share down the road, so it's a nuanced point for long-term investors to factor in, even if it's not a direct insider selling red flag like you might think.
Okay, so putting all this together, the good, the bad, the uncertain, what's the overall investment thesis summary for GoPro right now, according to our sources?
Well, the source gives GoPro an overall rating of 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah, considering it a high-risk investment. The delisting warning, especially coupled with that lack of available recent comprehensive financial data, it makes it unsuitable for most retail investors, according to this analysis. The suggestion is that maybe only experienced traders with a very high risk tolerance should even consider short-term speculation here.
So definitely not a buy and hold situation for most people right now.
No, a long-term investment is not recommended until the company can demonstrate sustainable business improvement and, crucially, regain that Nasdaq compliance.
So what does this all ultimately mean for you, our listener, if you're considering an investment in GoPro, or at least trying to understand if it's a viable option?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it just means the stock is currently highly volatile and, frankly, quite speculative. While there's certainly that optimism around operational improvements, cost cuts, potential new revenue like AI licensing, the product launches, there's also significant downside risk. A lot of it.
Like what specific?
Well, the risk that those Q4 profitability targets are missed. That's a big one. Or, of course, if the company ultimately fails to regain Nasdaq compliance within the given time frame, that could be catastrophic for the stock price. And furthermore, just remember, as a company dealing in consumer discretionary tech products, it inherently faces cyclical demand and just intense competition from all sorts of players.
Yeah.
It's a really complex picture with strong, conflicting signals right now.
It truly is a complex picture. Wow. On one hand, you have these signs of an operational turnaround, improved efficiency, and exciting new ventures like the AI content licensing seems potentially huge. But then on the other hand, a very real threat of delisting from Nasdaq and this lack of clear, comprehensive, fundamental financial data. It's a classic tug of war for investors, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, the story of GoPro right now is such a powerful example of why you need to look at all sides of the information. The perceived momentum can be really exciting, it catches headlines. But the underlying risks, particularly that delisting threat and the financial opacity we discussed, those are fundamental, and they can have a massive impact on the stock's future.
This whole exploration of GoPro's current situation really highlights the importance of critical thinking in investing, doesn't it? It's not just about the headline surges or what management promises. It's also about digging into the specifics, understanding the verifiable financial health or lack thereof, and recognizing those potential pitfalls.
So the question for you is, what stands out most about GoPro's future? Do those promised product launches and these AI ventures, do they outweigh the very real delisting risk in your mind? Or is it simply too speculative for your comfort, especially given the incomplete financial picture? You really have to consider how much verifiable data you actually have and what implications that has for your own investment decisions.